random bag. So these adhesion promoters. It's like the type of thing you get in a pot noodle.
It's alright, that.
So we are at a stage now where we have got down to a snagging list, or a snag list. And for our Australian viewers, that's got nothing to do with sausages. This is a list of little stuff, well, some of it not so little, but stuff that we've got left to do to put the car straight. I've got to get this car out of here and on the road, which means that we need to go through an MOT, which is not a problem, but we've got to get that sorted, we've got to get that done. The car needs to come out of here because I need to get Chi Chi, the black 100 horsepower Panda, in here for some reasonably urgent gearbox work, possible swap, etc., which is potentially a saga that I can relate to you through this whole thing. And yeah, I'm quite happy to do that after we've finished here. There's a few things that we need to do to go through the MOT, and then after that there are a few other things that we can do to tidy up and what have you. I haven't discerned or discriminated on the list because I don't discriminate. First one I've got is the seats. The seats, a little bit scrappy on the driver's side bolster. There's a mark on one of the passenger seats. I've got some lovely stuff to sort of, I've got some cream to rub into them. Front captain side bump stop. That is, it's basically disintegrated, it's fallen to pieces. Unfortunately, it means you've got to take the strut pretty much out to get to it, which is a bit annoying. There's not a massive amount of tension on the springs in these, so once you drop that down and what have you, I've got spring compressors here anyway, but they're not that bad. You can kind of sort them out. There's no massive amount of tension. There's not death waiting for you. It's a lot of work to do to replace a piece of rubber, but I think it's got to be done because they are pretty gnarly. The other side is like brand, it's like, it's fine. Anyway, so that has to be done, and that needs to be done before MOT. So I'm going to put well, you were stood there. Dry white markers, for the love of God. Didn't think it's ever going to be that difficult. Right, so we put that before MOT. BMOT. There we go. You might recall the episode where we sorted out the drinker's side drive shaft, did the boot, because the boot was leaking and it had leaked enough. It was completely dry. When I took it apart thinking I could just pack it full of grease, stick a new boot on, the actual joint itself had been dry for some time, was not looking too good. I replaced the joint out of precaution rather than saying, yeah, it definitely needs replacing. We've run all this. I've got some road speed up into the transmission, and we've made it run as it would as if on the road. Now, that highlighted a few things, because what I noticed that there was a large amount of grease leaking out of the shaft on this side, captain side, which is interesting because the CV boot on this side, there's no hole in it, and the clip is correct as well. It's the proper factory clip, which leads me to believe that the only thing that could have happened, and it would have had an effect on the other side as well, although the other side was bone dry. The only thing that could have happened is that in the intervening time that this has been stood, the grease has deteriorated to the point where it is now, or is basically oil liquid, and it is running out. Because if I look down there now, which we will in a bit, you will see that there is a big puddle of grease, or there is grease that's been thrown out the shaft. It's actually dripping out. The boot no longer contains the grease. Partly because the viscosity has disappeared, and partly because, well, yeah, the boot is gone as well. So we've got to change the boot. Not so much of an issue, definitely not as much of an issue as the other side, because there is an A shaft in the middle. You do not have to drop the oil in the box to get that out, which is brilliant, because it means that you can just open up the shaft from this side. It was a bit of a jiggly pokely thing to get it all sort of, you know, and it'll pop out. So you've just got to disassemble a bit here. Now, bump stop, etc. Get it all done in one hit. That's what I'm thinking. So that's got to be as well. The radiator switch, when I run the car up and I wanted to get some temperature into it to make sure that everything was working, because stuff changes when stuff gets warm, if you know what I mean. That means that what I did, or should I say what I did, is that I run the car at the temperature to make sure that certain things were working, nothing was leaking, and the car was capable, thermostat kicked in, all of those things. And that appeared to be working correctly up until the point the fan did not kick in. And the car carried on getting warmer and warmer and warmer. And I noticed this because obviously I was watching. And I immediately went, because I kind of half suspected is why you kind of do that. So I turned the car off, let the temperature cool down a bit, and did a few bits and pieces. And what it come down to is when I tested the fan by bridging it and sorting a few bits and pieces out, is we came to the conclusion that it's the radiator switch, because if you bridge the radiator switch, and I'll show you all this, then the fan should kick in, and lo and behold, the fan is kicking in and it's doing what it needs to do, and its temperature. So there was there's a big resistor stuck in the fan shroud. That needs to be replaced. So that the rad switch, that's important. That shit, because that'll be, because the MOT, the car will be running for 15, 20, 30 minutes whilst they do whatever they need to do. That needs to be done before the MOT. Front subframe cleaned and painted. Well, the front subframe on this is kind of crusty. It needs a good going over with a cheek poker, and it needs a bit of ZG90, a bit of cleaning off. The other thing that needs to be done with it, and this is also under tray as well, which is the next one, is there's snap bolts on the under tray, which means we've got to drill those out, retap the threads on the bits that have go straight up into metal brackets, and put some new bolts in. If anyone ever tells you that the car doesn't need an under tray, don't listen to them. The under trays are there for a reason. They're there to protect the engine and transmission and the exhaust from debris and minor impacts. They are important. They need to be fitted. The manufacturer wouldn't have gone to all the time, effort and expense of putting one on your car if it wasn't meant to be there. So if your under tray is hanging down, etc., whatever, and it looks as if it's got, get it fixed. It's important that it's fixed, even if it's literally just hanging it up with a cable tie to make sure that it isn't, until you can get it sorted or get somebody else to sort it. It is important. Aerodynamically, it's kind of important as well. I mean, why do you think those vents are there? Do you think that they did that because, yeah, I know, should we make this as complicated as possible to make and make it expensive just because we want to pass the cost on to the consumer? No, they're there for a reason. So if anyone ever tells you that you don't need it, perhaps you don't need to listen to them. Wheels. Now, the wheels on this car, they go round and round. The wheels are pretty good. There is a little bit of curb rash on the drinker's side front, which again is kind of to be expected because that's kind of the wheel that takes all the brunt. What I've done is I've gone full max power. I've gone and got some of these rim protector things. I'm not entirely happy with the colour choice now, looking at it, retrospect, hindsight, all of that. And I'm really excited to be putting these on. You can tell by my face. So that's the snag list. That's where we are. And I think that that's enough to be getting on with. So when we've sorted out that, the car can have its wheels put back on and it can be driven out here. I need to book the MOT because I haven't actually booked it yet, and I need to. The car will need a. That's the other thing that will need to happen. The car will need a full clean and detail. It's absolutely filthy. It wasn't when it came in here as well, which is hilarious. The paintwork on it, the outside, the immediate paintwork is excellent. I've never seen paintwork quite. It's absolutely excellent. It's a shame about it underneath, but I'm quite confident that we can put a lot of this, and get this looking really nice. But there's a lot of other things, like a lot of the engine based stuff and everything else. I want to go over it with some soap and some rust stuff to get rid of the corrosion off the aluminium. Anyway, all that aside, I think we need to crack on with the next bit of today, which actually I've got no idea. I think I'm going to toss a coin and see what happens. You couldn't make that up, could you? That is literally because since this shaft has been run, that is what that shaft has done. So that has definitely got to be replaced, but it's okay because we have new shaft, new boots, new seat, everything. It's all good. It's all good. So we're going to get all of this off here. I've already ducked the joints and everything else, and we've also got to sort that bad boy out in there. Right, let's do this. Be free. Right, my special homemade socket. Oh my god. Okay. Right. So compressor. Right, change of plan. I cannot get that cup out of there. It will not budge. I have applied every type of violence I can think of. I've asked it nicely, I've cajoled, everything. It ain't coming out of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean that out. I'm going to, let me just see if there might be a connector or a bolt or something in it. No, there isn't. So basically, it's my own, I do have a tool, but I'll be honest with you, I don't think it'll get in there. So I'm going to leave it there. I can get the clip in there. I can get up through there with the pliers to put the clip on it. What I need to do now is just clean that up. There we go. Nice and clean. Is to clean that up. I've got to go and sort the shaft out and get a new boot on it and everything else to sort the clips out. But yeah, we'll go and do that. I reckon we can put this back on like this. Fraught with peril, this is. You've left me no choice. See, now that's all it took. Be a dick about things. Gah!
I am.
the irony. My hands are too greasy to open the grease. Yeah, okay. It's not all light in here at the moment because I had to do this with one hand and I wasn't prepared for the whole thing coming out in one go. But that's all going to go back together now. Back in a sec. Well, that fought tooth and nail. However, it is now in. It is all sorted. New boot. It's all clean and tidy, and well, it doesn't look that clean and tidy, but trust me, it's been done. I've also put all this back together. I'm worried I've stretched the cable on the ABS sensor because, oh yeah, I forgot about that bit as well. I've fitted a new one of them. Yeah, I'm a bit worried that I stretched the ABS cable when I pulled the strut out because I slipped out of my hands, and yeah, the end result was I'm hoping that hasn't damaged that. Well, I'll find out when I clear all the codes and run it up and everything else. However, so this is all, it needs a bloody good clean down and everything else, but this is wheels back on now. I've even done the hub, caliper, everything sorted, so that's all good to go. I even greased the top bearing because that was hanging. Probably needs new ones, but anyway. So the last big repair, the last part we've got to replace is right now down here, in there. Can you see it? No? Okay, hang on. Is that any? No. Hang on. This bit. No. Okay. Do you know what? Anyway, I could take that PCV out. No, but I'm not going to. So you'll notice a janky bit of wire. Right. That blue plug there is the plug for the fan resistor, which resides in the fan shroud. Now, what was happening is it wasn't when it was coming up to temperature, and it's been up to temperature twice since I've done it. So when it was coming up to temperature, it did actually start to overheat, and when it overheated, then, or it didn't overheat, I noticed it and I had to stop, but I realised that obviously the fan wasn't coming on. It's usually down to the switch or the thermostat. I really didn't want it to be the thermostat because that's buried in there. So I thought, right, let's bridge this and see what happens. And lo and behold, it runs, when it hits a certain temperature, it runs with that bridged. So we have to replace the fan thermostat switch, as we were saying. Now, have you noticed as well, this white discharge over everything. That's what happened when I engaged the fan manually. That lot come out of the fan. That is aluminium oxide, corrosion, whatever you want to call it. It's actual out of the and dust and everything. It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. Right, let's see if we can get this fan switch out of here and see if we can invoke a new one. Do not repair. That's got to be the understatement of the century. The bloody... Wow! That's a little bit part and parts. Gotta love them. Oh, come on, don't be out. See, this is a really poor thread. Yeah. Oh, fudge. Problem is idling, there's no water pump, there's no water flowing in it, so. It smells hot now. Nil Fanio. Oh! 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 It's done! It's gone! It's happened! It's happened! Ah, there we go. We've got fanage. Tell you what, that's putting some heat out. Clips akimbo. What I've got here is obviously one of the wheels. And what I did was I purchased these, they go around the rims. They're very fashionable at the moment, usually found to be in some sort of lurid, opposing slash complementary colour. However, I've gone for a bit of a boring choice, and I've just put, and I think the grey matches really well with the wheel. I think the car would have worked with red as well. And what we've got here, and the reason why I'm doing this is, the wheels are actually in okay condition. Let me get you in on this. You've seen far worse from it, from cars much newer. I think that these wheels are, and they're nice wheels, but they do have like a multi-finish sort of like, and I'll be honest with you, refurbing these, which would be, you know, hundreds of pounds to do it professionally. I could do it for whatever, but that is something that I'm not interested in doing at the moment. And I think that these, in terms of colour and everything else and how that's going to work, is going to be, there's two reasons for this. One, it's going to make the wheels look slightly, it's going to, you know, I appreciate that these tyres have got these lovely little ridges on them, but I'm paranoid. I hate curbing wheels. It drives me up the wall. So I've decided to have a crack at, you know, and all the kids are doing this, so I'm going to follow the instructions up to the point. However, what I'm also going to do is I think that these need warming up a bit, and I've got some panel wipe and feel because you're supposed to use all this there. I mean, dear Lord, what's in there? Napalm? Wow. Anyway. Back. So these adhesion promoters. It's like the type of thing you get in a pot noodle. I'm sure that's fine. Do you know what the light's making that look crooked? Oh, well. So all you've got to do is you've got to put these little R's on there to cover the thing up, because I didn't cut it very well. And they give you a little tube of super glue, very thick jelly super glue, to which we can stick a bit of that on there. Not too much, because I always get it over my fingers anyway. So we drop that in over there, and then that should cover that up nicely. What we're going to need more glue.
It's alright, that.